Welcome to Where Her Heart Speaks, a show designed to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also to help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine begins now.
Hello, happy Women's Month, and welcome to the very first episode of Where Her Heart Speaks. I'm your host, Catherine James, and I am so excited in this moment. You see, this show has been 30 years in the making, and it is finally here. It has finally come to fruition. And I tell you that only because I want you to know that it does not matter how long. If you keep going, it will definitely come to pass. So, this show, Where Her Heart Speaks, is for every woman who knows, whose heart is telling her there is more. And maybe you're like I was. You've acquired the success and all the stuff you wanted, but you continue to search for the satisfaction that you thought it would bring. If that's you, this show is for you. So grab a glass of water, grab a pen and paper, take a few deep breaths, and buckle your seatbelts. I'd offer that as you listen to my voice, you also listen to your heart. Because what I believe is that here in this sacred space is where your heart will speak. Today, we're talking about living with regrets. So if you know someone who can benefit from a conversation about choosing reconciliation over regret, go ahead and invite them to join in and listen alongside you. One of my most favorite things when I am learning is to have someone that I love and care for learn alongside me. It gives us an opportunity to have dialogue and discuss and just process at a deeper level once we have exited the learning space. So go ahead and invite someone to join you and have them listen with you. I want to say that some parts of this discussion may generate something called a trigger. And the type of trigger I'm referring to in psychology, it is considered something that causes a painful memory to rise to the surface. Now, that something could be a word, an image, a sound, a topic, a date, a smell. It's almost anything, but that something is specific to you, the individual, and it will cause a painful memory to show up. So I want to say that, and I'm telling you that because if you find that you're in that situation, I want you to take care of yourself. And in a moment, I'm going to give you a little exercise that you can do to bring you back to the present. But here's the thing, because our bodies do not know the difference between what's real and what's not real, we can feel as though we are reliving an event, even though we're not. So that trigger is that thing that makes you feel as though you're reliving an event, even though you're right here with me listening to my voice. So I want to encourage you to take care of yourself. If the topic doesn't feel good to you or it feels like it's too much, do what you need to do to ensure that you're okay. And here's a quick exercise to help you return your body to a state of regulation out of that feeling that you're reliving an event and back into the present. You simply want to ask yourself 3 questions. And those 3 questions are, what are 3 things that I see? What are 3 things that I hear? And what are 3 things that I feel? And you're not just going to ask yourself the questions, but you're going to actually pause and locate, identify each of those things. So if I ask myself the question, what are three things that I see? I am going to scan my environment quickly. And what this does is it's shifting, it's causing a state change to take place, and it's moving you out of that feeling of reliving the event and bring you back into the present. So if I scan my environment right now, the three things I see is a lamp, I see a door, and I see a chair. Then the three things that I hear, I can hear the AC, I can hear voices outside talking, I can hear the gardener's blower going. What are three things that you hear? And then three things that I feel. This can be an internal or an external feeling. The temperature in the room against your skin. I feel the rug underneath my feet and the top of my desk as I rest my hands on my desk. So what are three things that you feel? So this is a quick exercise again to bring you present, bring you into a state of calm and reconnect you with where you are versus the event that happened long ago. All right. So, in honor of Women's History Month, I have pulled some quotes from amazing women that I'm going to share all month. Now, some of these women you will know, and others maybe you've never heard of them before. But I believe that their words speak to the innate strength and wisdom of all women. So it's my hope that we will leave this conversation with a new perspective. And this week's quote is from none other than the GOAT herself, tennis player Serena Williams. And Serena Williams says, a champion is not defined by their wins, but how they recover from their fall. Yeah, I want you to just ponder on that for a moment. Take that in. A champion is not defined by their wins, but how they recover from their fall. And for me, it's the how they recover when they fall part. How they recover when they fall. And as I said that a second time, I may have messed up the quote, so I'm going to go back. A champion is not defined by their wins, but how they recover when they fall. And again, I was just saying, it's the when they fall part. Do you recover a bit bruised but grateful for the knowledge you've learned? Do you recover maybe stronger and better? When they fall, how do you recover? Do you recover scraped, all bruised up from the inside out, and maybe you're feeling angry, guilty, defeated, and bitter? Over the past month, I heard the word regret more often than usual. I heard it while I was working with clients, and then I heard it while I was with friends. And I noted when I was working with clients, it was two different clients. Not necessarily the first time I heard it, but the second time, kind of like an awareness showed up. I was like, I heard result when I was talking with so and so the other day. And then while working with the second client, I just thought, wonder what this is about regret. Wonder what this is about regret. I heard it when I was talking to so and so last week, and now it's coming up again. And then while hanging out with a group of friends, it came up yet again. And with my friends, we were playing a card game, and I don't know the name of the game, but it's like one of those trivia games, only it was asking questions that pertain to the players, like personal questions regarding the players. And so there was a stack of cards, and each card had a different question on it. And they were questions like, who in your family had the greatest impact on your life, or what is your greatest fear in life? And then a question came up. What do you regret the most? And out of all the questions, that one resonated with me. And I thought, there it is again. Now, many times I have to go to self, and it's like, okay, what is this trying to teach you? What is it that you need to know about regret? Are you holding regret? Is it affecting you in some way? So I do like a self check. And so I'm sitting there with my friends, and as I listened to my friends give their answers, I reflected on the answer that showed up for me initially, and I'm going to share that in a moment. And I also thought about the memory of the feeling. I had the memory of the feeling I used to have that was associated with regret. Like I could vividly, physiologically feel like that feeling showed up, and I hadn't felt that in a while. And in the moment, I had like this sadness come over me because what I know is that regret hurts. It hurts. And I just couldn't help but wonder, like, about my friends. I'm like, these people, these girls that I love, I couldn't help but wonder if they still held the pain associated with regret. Now, my clients made it very clear. See, they were in a space that allowed them to be open about their pain. They were in session, and like our agreement is that you come open and honest at all times so that you can move from where you are to where it is that you want to go. But us girls, friends and I, we were just hanging out. We were just having fun. But still, I wondered. And then I quickly went to my initial thought. What are your regrets? And my initial response was, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. How many of you had that response? Now, I know that we're not together and you can't see me and I can't see you. But if we were together, I would ask you to raise your hand. And I would ask you to raise your hand because this healing journey requires us to be honest with self. This healing journey requires us to acknowledge what's really going on. So even though we can't see one another, if that was your response, I don't have any regrets. I want to have you just raise your hand. See, for me, what I went to and what I had to question is whether or not that was an honest answer. Was it true that I didn't have any regrets? Or was that just residue from one of my most prominent trauma responses, which is perfectionism? Yeah. And I saw it for what it was, perfectionism. And I opted for the latter. See, remembering that I now characterize myself as a recovering perfectionist. And from that space, I went all in. I said to my friends, I regret not pursuing my dreams earlier. And I leaned into the pain. And as a result of leaning into the pain and understanding the cause of my delay, the pain subsided. Now, you may be thinking, like I thought in that moment, it wasn't the place for that to get all deep. Like, you guys are just hanging out. And trust me, I know it wasn't the place to get all deep. But if you know me, you know that I'll go there at any given moment. And fortunately, my friends know me and they just went there with me. So we had a moment and we went back to having fun and enjoying ourselves. But I also think we were able to get over some things that a hurdle that may have been in our way and we may have been coming up against. So, what is regret? And why do we have it? Why do we have it? According to studies, people experience this feeling of regret when past choices and decisions are perceived as mistakes. So when we think our past choices or a past decision was actually a mistake, then there's regret. There's another study that says people feel regret when a choice results in an unfavorable outcome when compared with an outcome that was attainable. So if I'd taken another job, like I could have taken another job, that was something that was attainable. Um, but because I didn't take that other job, and in my mind, I believe that would have been a better outcome, I sit in a space of regret. If I would have changed careers, like that's something that I could have done, but I didn't do. And in my mind, I believe, or I'm telling myself that had I changed careers, maybe my situation would be different. So this type says, when we compare it to something that we believe would have yielded a different outcome, and we didn't take that path or make that decision, that choice, we sit in regret. And what I've come to understand after being on this earth more than 50 years is that not all regrets are treated equal. There's different levels. Like there's some regrets that we hold, and they have they're heavy on us. They're heavy regrets, like maybe who we chose to date or marry, the number of people we slept with, how we treated our children, the type of parent we were, how we didn't speak up for ourselves for so many years. Like there are some regrets that are so strong and so heavy that we actually beat ourselves up. And like we somehow intertwine those behaviors with who we are. And we tie the action and the activity to our worth. We tie the action and the activity to our value. And all of a sudden, we find that we're feeling less than. We feel dirty. We battle with self-worth, self-blame, self-hatred. These are heavy regrets. And then there are other regrets that I would say carry a lesser weight. Regrets that, they don't feel good, but we have the ability to simply say, I wish that wouldn't have happened. Like, I wish I wouldn't have made that decision. I wish I wouldn't have gone to that school. I wish I wouldn't have taken that job. But instead of it having this heavy weight on us, we're able to look at ways, things that we can do to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Now, the former, the regret that has the heaviness that's somehow mixed up with who we are or defines who we are, those type regrets, if gone unchecked, can bring us down emotionally. And research actually tells us that it can even lead to depression. But the latter, the one that we're able to, experience the feeling and say, yeah, I wish that wouldn't have happened. Now, what can I do to ensure it doesn't happen again? The latter, it's that energy that moves us out of regret and into reconciliation. Serena said, a champion is defined not by their wins, but how they recover when they fall. I like to think about moving away from regret into reconciliation by being curious, asking questions. What if? What if instead of seeing a past choice or decision as a mistake, which conjures up feelings of guilt, shame, and brokenness, what if instead of seeing them as a mistake, we instead see the outcomes of our choices and decisions as nothing more than what they actually are? Feedback. Feedback from life experiences. How about we consider that? That it's nothing more than feedback. And feedback is information, it informs us of something. Could you consider that? Yeah, now, again, if I were with you, if I could see you, if we were on Zoom, I'd say something like type a one in the chat if you can consider that. I'd say something like type yes or nod your head if you can consider that the outcome of these past decisions aren't mistakes, but feedback. See, if we're going to choose reconciliation over regret, we have to step into a space of having grace, giving ourselves grace, and practicing self-compassion. And I know for some, that may seem foreign. And in this moment, I could raise my hand because that used to be me. Like it was foreign for me to practice grace or give myself grace. Like I am the recovering perfectionist. Like, no, we don't make mistakes. We don't have bad choices. So it was foreign for me to give myself grace or practice self compassion. And then I also know that so many of us are prone to criticize self rather than have compassion for self. But I will say from experience, I know that change is possible. See, I don't have to keep my hand up. I can lower my hand now because I love to give myself grace. I love to sit in self compassion. Like I get to love all over myself. So I can now lower my hand. Self compassion comes as a result of being curious, asking questions. Like we have to understand that we're always doing the best we can do. So asking questions, what caused you to do what you did in the first place? What caused you to make that choice or that decision? What unconscious void were you trying to fill? You see, I believe, and science actually tells us that many learn how to survive. We learn how to survive early in life. Learning often happens before we even have the ability to reason or think logically. We don't even know how yet. So, with an inability to process events logically, the only way we learn is based on how we feel. We don't learn from a conscious cognitive space early in life. Instead, we learn from an unconscious physiological space. And what does that mean? Physiological, our body. Our bodies tell us. Our bodies feeds us information. And our bodies are hardwired to keep us safe. Like our bodies have an internal surveillance system that constantly scans for threat and safety. It's constantly asking the question or looking around. Is it safe? Is it not safe? Is it safe? Is it not safe? Is that dangerous? And we entered the world with this system. It's always with us and it's always on. There is a term called neuroception that was coined by Dr. Stephen Porges. He's the founder of the polyvagal theory. But he coined this term called neuroception. And what all neuroception is that surveillance system, that system, that internal system that's always scanning for safety and threat. Now, when pain is experienced, we learn and implement behaviors that are going to keep us safe. Our scanners make meaning of various events, of all events in our lives. Our scanners make meaning of the events, and they elicit physiological sensations that alert us. Those sensations are going to tell us, hey, that's not safe. That's dangerous. Don't do that. Or those sensations are going to say, oh, that's okay. They're safe. You don't have to worry about them, or you don't have to worry about that. Those alerts are always going off. And I think one way to think about this is if you're walking down the street and say the sun has gone down and maybe there's no one around and someone starts to approach you, you will get a feeling in your body. And that feeling is going to tell you to either be on alert, doesn't feel safe, or you can stay relaxed, it's all good. So this feeling doesn't just show up when people are coming toward us or when we're in dark spaces walking down the street by ourselves. This feeling also shows up as a result of past experiences. So if you were rejected, say as a child, and rejection feels horrible or felt horrible to you at that time, guess what? There is an internal message that's going to go off that says rejection is dangerous. Rejection feels like you are literally going to die. So, for instance, if that's your story, if being rejected feels like you are literally going to die, you may stay on a job far longer than you wanted because it felt better than taking the risk of being turned down, taking the risk of being rejected if you were to go out and interview for another job. You may regret your decision to stay, and you must know that you were acting based on the information you had. Not the cognitive information, but the physiological information. That physiological information that was sounding the alarm and alerting you, that basically saying, hey, 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 rejection is not safe. Don't do it. You were making a decision to keep yourself safe. Another example, maybe you experienced inappropriate touching as a child. And although it was inappropriate, you felt seen and you felt accepted. Having an unconscious desire to feel seen and accepted, you found yourself in too many beds or laying down with too many men. And you regret that. But what was really happening, although you knew differently consciously or cognitively, your physiological response was desirous of being seen and being accepted. So you maybe did some things that you would not have done if you were able to make a decision from your cognitive mind. Unconscious, physiological, or sensations that we feel in our body will trump conscious logical reasoning every time. And if you're writing notes, if you're taking notes, I want you to jot that one down. Unconscious, physiological sensations, bodily sensations, will trump conscious logical reasoning every time. Every time. I always say what happens when we know better and we can't do better. What happens when we know better and we can't do better? We can't solve a body problem with a brain solution. It's not possible. And I just venture to say that nearly all behaviors that we come to regret are rooted in a body problem. There's some type of alarm going off that's saying it's unsafe or it's safe. And as a result of that alarm, we behave a certain way. And by body, I'm actually referring to the nervous system. As a result of that alarm going off in our nervous system, we act a certain way. And we come to have regret. Now, regret can either cause long-term suffering or short-term suffering. Long-term suffering, that's when there's constant ruminating or thinking about it over and over and over and over, and that can be detrimental. That goes back to that heavy weight that I talked about earlier. And the short term goes back to the alternate, like we can look at it and say, oh yeah, that hurt. The short term where there may be grieving and remorse, but we can say, yeah, I didn't like that. It doesn't feel good, and move forward. And that can be healing for us. And in choosing reconciliation over regret, I'd invite you to first and foremost have self-compassion. Remember, you were doing the best you could with the information you had. And that was physiological information, not cognitive information. You were doing the best you could. Maybe not even aware of that term. Maybe not even aware that it was showing up, that it was controlling you. But you were doing the best that you could with the information you had. If there's something that you didn't wish that you did and maybe wish that you wouldn't have done, ask yourself, did you do the best with the knowledge you had, with the knowledge that you possessed at that time? And if your answer is yes, give yourself permission to appreciate your body for not bailing out on you, for not failing to do what it was designed to do. Appreciate your body for doing what it was supposed to do, and that was to keep you safe. Next, I want to invite you to analyze the feedback. Allow the feedback to be a teacher. What could have been done differently? If there was something you didn't do but wish you would have, create and implement a plan to get it done. If maybe you didn't finish college but you wish you would have, create and implement a plan to finish college. If your bank account doesn't look as well as you would like for it to look, create and implement a plan to grow your bank account. Like, we don't have to get stuck in the regret. We don't have to get stuck in the I wish I would haves and I wish I could haves, when you still have an opportunity to do different. Just because you have a different take on things cognitively doesn't mean or doesn't make it wrong. Just because you have a different take on it cognitively, like cognitively in my reasonable or my reasoning and my thinking mind, I know that it should be this way, but it was actually that way. It doesn't make it wrong. It simply sends a message that where there is dissonance, a disconnect in how I think and how I behave, there may also be an opportunity for healing. So lastly, I want you to be honest with yourself. If you've tried to let go and release the feeling of regret to no avail, it may be time to move beyond trying to do it alone. Like, if you're like me, a recovering perfectionist, I know that you've been going in circles trying to fix it because there's something inside of you that says, I got this, I can do it, I should be able to. But then we have to come to the truth. And we got to get honest, like we've tried and it's not working. So if that's you, I'd invite you to reach out to someone. That someone could be a trauma-informed coach like myself. It could be me. It could be a therapist. It could be a minister. It could be a counselor. And I'm going to say I'm purposely staying away from friends because not all of our friends are equipped to take us from where we are, from regret to reconciliation. And sometimes they actually add fuel to the fire. So we want to make sure that we are reaching out to someone who is equipped. And if you'd like to speak with me, I invite you to schedule a free strategy session with me. And you can do that by going to www.calendly.com Coach Catherine. Catherine is spelled Cathrine. There is no E in the middle. So www.calendly.com Coach Catherine. Go there to schedule a free strategy session with me. You may not have the issues with regret, but maybe something else is going on and you want to have a strategy session. I'd invite you to go to that URL and schedule a free session. So again, I say, just because you have a different take on things cognitively doesn't make it wrong. It may just mean there's an opportunity for healing. How will you recover from your fall? I pray that you will choose reconciliation over regret. I want to thank you for tuning in and giving me the one commodity that is most valuable of all, and that is your time. I do not take it lightly. I appreciate you. Time is the one thing we can never get back. And when someone gives me their time, I am deeply honored. As we go from this space, I want to invite you to join me again next week. Tell a friend and choose to live the life that you've always desired to live. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for listening to Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine, where Catherine aims to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Follow Catherine on Facebook and Instagram at I Am Catherine James and visit www.catherinejames.com. Remember, to live the life of your dreams, you must go within and return to the place where your heart speaks.